All right, good morning. We are going to work on improving your PLC work today. Please sit with your current PLC. Today we are going to recall some important practices of the professional learning community. I'd like to first start with a turn and talk. What are professional learning communities? I'd like you to pair up with your elbow partner at your table. Let's have the youngest teacher talk first. What do you remember from your training about PLCs? How would you explain them to a new staff member? I would give the team adequate time to go ahead and complete this task. Then I'd call on 3 partners and make a list on the screen or board, whatever I have available. Dufour, Eaker, Meny, and Matos, the authors of Learning by Doing, give us this definition of a PLC. Please make note of the highlighted words. It's an ongoing process in which educators work collaboratively in recurring cycles of collective inquiry and action research to achieve better results for the students they serve. If your talk included any of these elements, well done. The rest of the training will include some more details of strengthening your team. Again, it's an ongoing process. We're going to work collaboratively, many cycles of collective inquiry and action research, and of course, better results for our students. The 3 key ideas of PLCs. Number 1, a focus on learning. Number 2, collaborative culture and collective responsibility. Number 3, a results orientation. The authors of Learning by Doing tell us about number 1. The fundamental purpose of the school is to ensure that all students learn at high levels, which is grade level or higher. This focus on and commitment to the learning of each student are the very essence of a learning community. The authors continue to tell us about number 2. Educators must work collaboratively and take collective responsibility for the success of each student. It's an expectation and requirement. Working together to build shared knowledge on the best way to achieve goals and meet the needs of those they serve is exactly what professionals in any field are expected to do. And number 3, focus on student achievement and use that evidence to improve our strategies and respond to individual students who need individual support. Then analyze the impact of the changes to decide the effectiveness of each strategy used and apply new findings. The big idea out of all 3 of these is that the goal that should always be at the forefront of our minds is student achievement. Our goal as a PLC is to increase student achievement for all students that we serve. The way we are going to start doing that is we are going to set norms and establish a vision within our PLCs. First one, setting norms. Elena Aguilar in The Art of Coaching Teams tells us that the best norms create resources for working with emotions, foster an affirmative environment, and encourage proactive problem solving. Norms are a crucial step to an emotionally intelligent team. Norms must be created together, upheld together, and revisited throughout the year together. When norms are broken, it's every member's responsibility to confront the person who broke that norm. I'd like you to make this chart on a piece of paper that's at your table. Within your PLC, you're going to write down a list of do's and don'ts that each of you agree to uphold throughout the year. We will revisit these often, starting with at the end of this meeting, and again for each meeting, to see what changes should be made and to check in on our progress. I'd like you to choose a scribe to write down the norms, then delegate another member who will be responsible for making copies for everyone and bring to each meeting. Some tips. The norms should be stated as commitments rather than beliefs. Only focus on the essential norms, and make sure to write one about how you'll respond when a member fails to observe a norm. I'll give you time to start this in a moment. The next thing you're going to do today is you're going to write down 2 to 3 student-centered goals. That will be like your vision for this PLC. Then talk about what data will you need to collect to determine if you've reached these goals. Then what values are important to you as a PLC? Brainstorm a list of agreed upon values. Establishing collective values and a vision helps build vulnerability-based trust among your PLC members. It's crucial. This makes your team dynamic much stronger. You're going to write these down on the back of the same sheet that you have your norms on. Whoever is going to make copies for your team, be sure to make copies of both the norms, the vision, and the values. As you go through this process with your PLC, beware of 5 actions that Patrick Leoncini tells us come from dysfunctional teams. Those are the absence of trust, fear of conflict, because conflict is necessary, lack of commitment, inability of accountability, and inattention to results. These 5 behaviors of teams will force the team to collapse. We want to be aware of these actions and be sure to avoid them as we move forward as a team. And finally, I want you guys to remember to celebrate success. When your team meets a goal, do not forget to celebrate it. Success is what motivates us. So for example, let's say you all stayed on topic and worked towards the goal vision that you had during the meeting. Or let's say someone confronts another for breaking a norm. Let's say your students perform at higher levels and you have data to prove it, or anything else that you can think of. You got to celebrate that success. That's what keeps us going. All right, it's time to dive in. You're going to set those norms, establish a vision, and determine values. And again, beware of those 5 actions that create dysfunctional teams. Let's go ahead and get started.